Okay, today I'm going to show you how to make spinach and feta cheese phyllo pastries. I think the proper name for it in the Greek and Cypriot recipe books is spanatopica or something like that. Basically, the only ingredients you need are a packet of phyllo pastry and the spinach and cheese mixture. Now, for this amount of mixture I've used 600 grams of spinach, 1 onion chopped and a packet of Anari cheese. I've chosen the Anari cheese instead of the feta because actually Anari is a little bit less salty and it's personal preference. And to this mixture I've added a sprinkle of nutmeg and I need to add a beaten egg. But just crack an egg into it and mix it round. And then you've got the stuff ready. I've also melted a packet, 250 gram packet of butter. I've used unsalted butter, but again that's preference only. And leave it to cool down a little bit because obviously you're going to burn your fingers if it's too hot. Then what you need to do is you take out the phyllo pastry. With phyllo pastry, if it's been frozen, it's very important for you not to refreeze it. If you refreeze it, you'll find that it becomes very crumbly and basically you can't use it again. But this is actually fresh, it hasn't been frozen yet. So it's wrapped in cellophane, just unroll it. And you need to be able to work quite quickly with phyllo pastry because it does dry out. And once it does dry out, it's difficult to manipulate. So for this, these spinach rolls, you just need half a sheet really. So I'm going to cut them in half. Then immediately put half the packet away. Roll it up so it doesn't dry out. And then you spread out the sheets. And then you start with the butter. Use your fingers rather than a pastry brush, because with a pastry brush you cannot tell really how much butter you're putting on. But you just dab it on liberally, but as though it's not too just make sure it's not too greasy, it's not to be slathered in it. Then you get a small amount of the spinach and cheese mixture and spread it along. And it only has to be very thin, and it doesn't matter whether you have gaps because once it's rolled up and it's baked, it actually adds to the texture. If you put too much, the pastry doesn't really cook in between the layers, and it's not a very pleasant texture really. So this is a case where less is more. Then what you do is you take the edge and you literally just roll it up. Doesn't matter if it breaks. That's what's lovely about these recipes, that so many things do go wrong, but at the end of the day it doesn't matter because once it's baked it all seems to link up together. You see here it's not ripped, so this will be what joins it. Oops, ignore that. When it's you've rolled it, you just roll it round carefully. And there you have your first spinach roll. Get your pan. You need butter on the bottom, so make sure it's well covered with butter. You can use oil and you can use ghee. I prefer butter simply because of the taste. And then you place your roll there. And then you go on to the next one. Pat liberally. Put your spinach mixture, spread it nicely across. clumpy there, so just spread it out. The difference between Anari cheese and feta cheese is that feta cheese is actually a little bit crumblier. So for these sort of recipes it is a little bit more sensible to use that. And for people who worry about rennet in cheese, be careful when you buy feta cheese, because there is some brands that use rennet. Traditionally feta is made just by using salt, so if you get authentic Greek, Cypriot or Turkish, normally you'll find that that is rennet free, but it does say on the back of the label. And it seems to be that feta that's made with cow's milk contains rennet, whereas when it's just goat's milk, it's cheese, it's salt only. So that's how you make the spinach rolls. When you've completed it, they need to be packed quite carefully together. Of spinach has, and half a packet of Filo pastry has made 13 Filo pastries. So when they're packed tightly together, hopefully they won't come apart, and I'm sure they won't because I've done it with half a pan before. They should stay in a spiral. When they're ready to go into the oven, make sure you preheat the oven at 200 degrees. I think that's gas mark 6. If you then just dab over the top, be a little bit more generous with some melted butter. The butter is what makes it nice and crispy, and also, as I say, gives it a really nice flavour. Then they're ready for the oven. Ta-da! And you pop them in the oven. Half an hour. This is what they look like after 30 minutes. Crisp and golden brown. And try not to take one at once because you'll burn your tongue. The spinach gets very, very hot. They're really delicious when they're hot and cold. You don't have to reheat them at all. They're very, very tasty.